Ever considered how your mind might be an open book to others? You see, there lies a dark side to psychology, a realm where manipulation and influence reign supreme. This is the world of dark psychology, a field that explores how our minds can be influenced, often without our conscious awareness. Now let's set the stage here. We're not talking about mind control or anything out of a science fiction movie. We're delving into the subtle yet powerful psychological tricks that can sway anyone's mind, from the foot-in-the-door technique to the power of social proof. These are psychological strategies used in everyday situations by everyone from salespeople to politicians. But remember, with great power comes great responsibility. These techniques can be used for good, but they can also be used unethically. It's crucial to approach these tricks with a sense of morality, using them to build positive relationships, not to exploit others. Dive in as we uncover the enigmatic world of dark psychology. Imagine this: you've just agreed to a small favor. Now you're more likely to say yes to a bigger one. This is the essence of the foot-in-the-door technique, a psychological trick that involves getting a person to agree to a large request by first setting them up with a much smaller one. It's like a domino effect. Once you've tipped the first one, the rest follows suit. Let's say, for example, a friend asks you to watch their pet for a day. You agree. The next week they ask you to pet sit for a whole week. You're more inclined to say yes because you've already done a similar favor. It's a subtle manipulation, but incredibly effective. Surprising, isn't it, the power of a small favor? Ever noticed how a big, unreasonable request makes the next one seem so much smaller? This, my friends, is the essence of the door-in-the-face technique. It's like asking someone to lend you $1,000, and when they refuse, you ask for a tenner instead. Suddenly, $10 doesn't seem too much, does it? This technique plays with our perception of reasonableness. It's a psychological trick that uses the power of contrast to make a smaller request seem much more acceptable after a larger one is turned down. It's quite a fascinating phenomenon, isn't it? You'll often see it in action in negotiations or sales pitches. So the next time someone hits you with an outrageous request, be on guard. They might just be setting you up for the smaller, real request. An unreasonable request can really change perspectives, can't it? Heard of the phrase, "He that has once done you a kindness will be more ready to do you another"? That's the Benjamin Franklin effect for you folks. It's a psychological phenomenon where a person who does a favor for someone is likely to do another because they perceive the person they helped as likable. The mind plays a clever trick here, rationalizing that we wouldn't help someone unless we liked them. Interesting, isn't it? Let's take an example. Ever lent your book to a classmate? You probably thought better of them afterwards. It's a subtle trick, but it works wonders in creating bonds and influencing people. Who knew doing someone a favor could make them like you more? Ever felt obligated to return a favor? That's the power of reciprocity at work. It's a psychological principle that suggests we're wired to return the good deeds done to us. It's like an unspoken societal contract, making us feel compelled to reciprocate when someone does something nice for us. Think about that time your neighbor brought over a homemade pie, and you suddenly felt the urge to return the gesture. Or when you're given a free sample at the store, and you end up buying the product. That's reciprocity in action, but remember, it's also a tool that can be used to influence decisions and behavior. So the next time someone hands you a free sample, just know you're not obligated to buy anything. Next time, watch out for that free sample. Ever wondered why limited edition items are so alluring? Well, it's all thanks to the scarcity principle, a sneaky little trick our brains play on us. This principle suggests that we place a higher value on things that are limited in quantity or availability. It's like the law of supply and demand, but for your brain. Imagine this, you're out shopping and you see a sign that says only 2 left in stock. Suddenly you're more interested in that item, right? That's the scarcity principle at work. Marketers and advertisers use this trick all the time to make products seem more desirable. So the next time you find yourself drawn to that limited offer, remember, it might just be the scarcity principle pulling your strings. Scarcity indeed pushes us to want more. Ever judged a book by its cover? Now, before you deny it, let's unravel the 5th trick of dark psychology, the halo effect. This cognitive bias makes us believe that if someone is good at one thing, they must be good at everything else. It's like your brain is wearing rose-colored glasses, tinting your perception based on the first impression. Take celebrities, for instance. We often believe they're smarter, kinder, or more talented simply because they're attractive or successful in one area. Businesses also exploit this, with good-looking models promoting products, banking on the halo effect to boost sales. So the next time you find yourself swayed by someone's charm or good looks, remember, the halo effect might be at play. Appearances can be deceptive after all. Ever noticed how we don't like to break our own patterns? That's the power of consistency at work, my friends. We are creatures of habit. And once we commit to something, we're more likely to stick with it. Sounds simple, right? But it's a psychological trick that can influence behavior. Think about New Year resolutions. We all make them, vowing to be consistent in our efforts. And when we do stick to them, it's a win-win. Our brain loves the reward of consistency. In the world of persuasion, consistency can be used to nudge people towards a desired outcome. Businesses use it to ensure customer loyalty, and politicians use it to secure votes. Staying consistent, a powerful tool indeed. Ever thought about why you're more likely to help when you're the only one around? This is what we call the bystander effect. It's a psychological phenomenon where individuals are less likely to offer help to a victim when other people are present. The more bystanders, the less personal responsibility one feels to intervene. Consider this. You're in a crowded city square and someone collapses. Everyone looks, but no one steps forward. We subconsciously think, someone else will handle it. This is the bystander effect in action, but by being aware of this, we can consciously counteract it. When faced with a situation requiring intervention, don't just stand by. Be the one to step up. After all, if not you, then who? Next time, don't wait for others to take action. Ever followed a suggestion just because it came from an authority figure? This, my friends, is the authority principle at play. It's a psychological trick deeply rooted in our social conditioning. From an early age, we are taught to respect and obey figures of authority, whether they are our parents, teachers, or even a uniformed officer. This obedience often extends unconsciously into adulthood. For instance, think about a time you might have purchased a product because a celebrity you admire endorsed it. That's the authority principle working its magic. But here's a word of caution. Just because a piece of advice comes from someone in power doesn't mean it's always the best course of action. So, always question, always analyze. Remember, authority doesn't always mean right. Ever noticed how we tend to follow the crowd? This, my friends, is the power of social proof. It's a psychological phenomenon where people mimic the actions of others in an attempt to reflect correct behavior. We are social creatures, after all. We rely on others to decide what's right, what's wrong, what's trendy, or even what's tasty. Consider this. Ever been to a restaurant just because it was buzzing with people? That's social proof in action. Or ever bought a product because it had a ton of positive reviews? Again, social proof. It's like an unseen force that guides our decisions, often without us even realizing it. Fascinating, isn't it? How we are influenced by others around us. So there we have it, the 10 dark psychology tricks to influence anyone's mind. We've journeyed together through the labyrinth of the human psyche, unveiling the potent power of techniques like the foot in the door and door in the face. We've explored the subtle art of influence with the Benjamin Franklin effect and the power of reciprocity. We've delved into the scarcity principle, highlighting how the fear of missing out can drive our decisions. We've examined the halo effect, that charming illusion that makes us perceive others based on one trait. We've learned about the power of consistency, the bystander effect, the authority principle, and the power of social proof, all potent tools in the arsenal of persuasion. But let's not forget, these tricks, while fascinating, can also be misused. It's a bit like walking on a tightrope. On one side, understanding these techniques can help us navigate our social interactions more effectively. On the other, they can be used to manipulate and control. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility. Use these tricks wisely and ethically.